It's a pleasure to have you join us for another episode of Gender Perspectives. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha, and as always, we'll be unpacking a very important conversation that all of us should be having. But first, we'll go on a short break and we'll continue right after.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
Okay, I don't know that one.
outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that.
No.
That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on e-vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Welcome back. Now, who really gets to decide what happens to our bodies? Is it the individual, the law, the state, or the society at large? Well, this question brings us to our topic of the day, which is on reproductive rights. Whose choice? Whose voice? Well, this conversation is about more than access to health care. It's about power, it's about autonomy and justice. So we'll explore how gender and law shape who is heard and who is left out when it comes to making reproductive choices. Now let's look at the background report.
Reproductive rights rest on the recognition of the basic right of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing and timing of their children and to have the information and means to do so, and the right to attain the highest standard of sexual and reproductive health. They also include the right of all to make decisions concerning reproduction free of discrimination, coercion and violence. Reproductive rights rest on the recognition of the basic right of all couples and individuals to decide freely and responsibly the number, spacing and timing of their children and to have the information and means to do so, and the right to attain the highest standard of sexual and reproductive health. They also include the right of all to make decisions concerning reproduction free of discrimination, coercion and violence. Reproductive rights, often described as the cornerstone of bodily autonomy, go far beyond access to contraception or abortion. They encompass the right to make informed decisions about whether, when, and how to have children, as well as access to comprehensive reproductive health care, education, and freedom from coercion. Globally, these rights are recognized as essential to achieving gender equality and social justice. Yet, in Nigeria, as in many parts of the world, reproductive rights remain deeply contested, shaped not only by the law but by intersecting layers of religion, culture, politics, and gender inequality. The global discourse around reproductive rights often centers on access to contraception, safe abortion, maternal health care, and fertility services. However, reproductive rights go beyond health care. They are also about voice, choice, and control. Who gets to decide what happens to a person's body? Who is included in policymaking? Whose reproductive experiences are acknowledged, and whose are overlooked or criminalized? In most countries, the conversation around reproductive rights is fraught with tension and complexity. Legally, Nigeria's reproductive health landscape is restrictive. Abortion, for example, is criminalized under both the Criminal Code, applicable in southern Nigeria, and the Penal Code, applicable in the north, except where the life of the pregnant person is at risk. This narrow exception excludes circumstances such as rape, incest, or severe fetal abnormality, a stark contrast to international human rights standards. As a result, many women and girls turn to unsafe procedures, contributing significantly to high maternal mortality rates, one of the worst in the world. Adding to this complexity is the way reproductive rights are often used as political tools. Governments and institutions frequently regulate reproductive autonomy as a means of controlling populations, reinforcing gender roles, or appealing to moral majorities. The rise of conservative, anti-gender movements across the globe has led to a rollback of hard-won reproductive freedoms, further silencing the voices of those most affected. But the legal dimension is only one part of the story. Reproductive rights in Nigeria are also shaped by patriarchal norms, religious beliefs, and socioeconomic disparities. In many communities, reproductive decisions, from contraception to childbirth, are heavily influenced or controlled by male partners, religious leaders, or cultural gatekeepers. This limits the autonomy of women, especially young girls, who often lack the power, resources, or information to make independent choices about their bodies. Furthermore, the voices of marginalized groups, such as rural women, persons with disabilities and internally displaced persons, are often excluded from public debates and policy making around reproductive health. These populations face not only stigma but also systemic barriers to accessing care, including cost, distance, discrimination, and legal invisibility. There is also a major information gap. Comprehensive sexuality education is not widely taught in schools, and where it exists, it is often watered down or censored due to religious and cultural opposition. This leaves many young Nigerians uninformed about their reproductive health rights and vulnerable to myths, misinformation, and preventable health risks. The legal system, while a potential tool for justice, has yet to fully rise to the challenge of defending reproductive rights. Cases related to reproductive health rarely make it to court due to stigma, lack of legal awareness, and limited access to justice. However, there is growing momentum among female legal practitioners, civil society actors, and youth-led movements who are pushing for reform, from advocating for the domestication of international human rights treaties to demanding comprehensive health policies that reflect the lived realities of Nigerian women and girls. Ultimately, the question, whose choice, whose voice, demands a reckoning with who gets to participate in decisions about reproductive health and who is silenced or ignored. It calls on us to challenge systems that limit bodily autonomy and to ensure that reproductive rights are recognized not as privileges for the few, but as fundamental human rights for all. In conclusion, reproductive rights are not just about access to services, they are about equity, dignity, and self-determination. Addressing the question of whose choice, whose voice, means actively centering the voices of those historically excluded from the conversation. It means building systems and policies that are inclusive, rights-based, and responsive to the diverse realities of people across the gender spectrum. Until we do that, reproductive freedom will remain a privilege for some, rather than a right for all.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on e-vibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So that I should try harder. So,
Okay, I don't know that one.
outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that. That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hub's on e-vibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
Well, reproductive rights are often framed as a matter of personal choice, but in reality, that choice is shaped, limited, or even denied by laws, policies, cultural norms, and systemic inequalities. Now, around the world and right here in our own community, we must ask, who truly has the power to decide? Whose voices are heard in shaping reproductive laws and whose experiences are left out of the conversation? Now, this topic invites us to think beyond the surface and to consider how gender, class, and legal structures intersect in complex ways. Because when it comes to reproductive justice, not all choices are equally protected, and not all voices are equally valued. Now, to help us unpack these critical questions and deepen our understanding of the legal and human rights dimensions of reproductive justice, I'm honored to welcome our guest today, Ogechukwu Agbo. She's a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much.
Right, so let's go into the conversation. Now, from your perspective, first of all, as a legal practitioner in Nigeria, what are reproductive rights and how will you say that they are currently recognized within the Nigerian law?
Okay, reproductive rights are basically the rights of women to have autonomy over their body. It includes the right they have over both sexual and their reproductive health. Now, this right is basically your right to make decision when it comes to your body. Deciding whether you want to have a child, how many children do you want to have, deciding if a particular pregnancy you ought to terminate it or not. Now, in our laws, Nigerian laws, abortion actually is criminalized, both in our criminal code and the penal code. The only exception is where the life of the mother is at risk. Now, because of that, women in Nigeria do not have the right to abort a pregnancy, maybe simply because it was contracted through maybe sexual abuse. And it is quite wrong, because these rights internationally have been enshrined. And it is quite funny because we as a country, we have ratified many of these conventions, many of these international protocols and laws. And I find it difficult to understand why in Nigeria we don't have a codified law that protects women's right to reproduction. But however, there are also laws actually, that Nigerian laws that are related to it, but it is not direct as it ought to be. We have, well, this one is arguable. The Constitution, as a woman, you have your right to personal dignity, and human person have your right to not to be discriminated as a result of your gender. Now, but this is arguable. Also, in Chapter 2 of our Constitution, we have the right to basic health. Now, this Chapter 2 is not justiciable. What it means is that you cannot go to court and enforce it. Now, if you're a woman and you're in a hospital and your health is being jeopardized because of some maybe negligence or as a result of some medical, inefficiencies, you can't actually sue the government. Do you understand? You can't sue the government, although you can sue the hospital for negligence. Well, however, we should have these rights protecting women. That is my opinion. Apart from the Constitution, we also have our law, the National Health Act. Now, this act ensures that pregnant women are given the care they ought to be given. And if there are cases of emergencies, that they are attended to as when due. Then we also have this Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. Now, this right protects women in the sense that it prohibits any form of violence against women, be it rape, sexual abuse, even genital mutilation. Is against it. That is the law in that regard. Also, we have a law protecting our girl child. It is the Child Rights Act. This law protects our children from underage marriages. Okay. Now, these are laws here and there that protect women, but we need to have a law that is stricto sensu, enshrining the rights of women when it comes to reproduction. Because at the end of the day, it's the woman that will carry the pregnancy to term, and it is also the woman that would deliver the pregnancy. And there are international laws that protect women, which Nigeria as a country has ratified, like I said, like the Maputo. There is Maputo Protocol. It is from the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. This law is saying that every government ought to protect reproductive rights of women by ensuring that a woman is entitled to safe abortion where the pregnancy is as a result of sexual abuse, rape, or where the life of the woman is at stake, or the child, the fetus. If the life of the fetus is at stake. Okay, now in Nigeria, our own law is only where the life of the woman is at stake. Okay, so what about the fetus? Where the life of the fetus is also at stake, is abortion not an option? Or where it is seen that the fetus is abnormal, or do you understand? It should be an option. Okay, it should be an option. The woman should have the right to decide whether you want to reproduce or not. Considering what women go through in childbirth, is a 50-50 chance of survival. Okay, Yes. Now, we have laws. The problem is we don't have a particular law talking about this particular issue.
Yes.
There are a lot of laws that you can, as a woman as well, rely on to protect your reproductive rights in Nigeria.
Yeah, but you also, there was something you mentioned when you were speaking. You earlier you made mention of some laws and you said they are arguable.
Yes, I talked about the Constitution.
Yes.
I said the right to dignity of human beings
It's arguable.
It is arguable
How?
in the sense that you can say that your right to dignity as a human being is infringed on as a woman. You have the right as a person to decide what happens to you. You have that autonomy as a person to decide what happens to your body. It is arguable in the sense that we have cultures in this country. We have religions and cultures. And some of our cultures limit these rights in the sense that you could be talking about your right to dignity as a human being. Then in your culture or your custom, the man is the head.
Yes, I'm actually coming to that.
You understand?
Yes,
So
yes.
that's why I said it is arguable. You can argue on your fundamental rights.
Right.
You can, okay, and on the other divide, someone can say that in your culture, you do not have a say.
Yes, and that stands as well.
It also stands. So that was why I said that is arguable. You could, from your constitution, enforce your right to dignity of human person as a woman. Okay. Now there is chapter 2 of the Constitution, which provides for basic health care to everybody, but that one is not justiciable. You can't go to court to enforce it. You can't sue the government on that basis.
Wow, that's quite a lot. So does this mean that the law is ineffective when it comes to these things? Because if it's not justiciable, like you said, what is now the point of having that law there if the person who has the problem cannot take it to the court except just to sue the hospital?
The chapter 2 of our constitution is injusticiable in the sense you can't sue government for not providing basic health. Okay, there are things you can't sue the government for. Okay, and those are provided in chapter 2 of the constitution. Now there are a lot of arguments on that. People are of the opinion that it should be enforceable. I am of the opinion that it should be enforceable. For it to be there, it should be enforceable. If not, why is it there in the first place? Okay? Yeah. But chapter 4, which provides to you for a right to your dignity as a human person, you can enforce it. But that is the one I said
It's arguable. Yes, exactly. So now, with all you said, do you think that these rights are understood? Like, do you think that the Nigerian public or Nigerians generally even understand the concept and the idea of reproductive rights as a thing? Even policymakers, aside from Nigerians, even policymakers as well, do you think that they understand the idea behind something called reproductive rights? And do you think that they even think it is something that important to, give some form of attention to?
This is why I am of the opinion that we should have more women in our lawmakers. We need to have more women there because they are the ones that will understand this concept better than men. Okay, because we are talking about us, we are talking about what we go through, we are talking about our body. I believe if we have more female lawmakers, it's something that we can push and have, like I said, a law, a specific law specifically on that subject. But talking about the citizens, Nigerians, I do not think that majority of Nigerians understand the concept behind this, except few that are educated, but others, they don't. Okay, you see a situation where a pregnant woman is admitted at the hospital. They are waiting for the husband's consent to perform a cesarean section.
Exactly.
And sometimes the woman might end up dying in the process because of the delay.
Yeah,
now,
or even the baby too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
This is an adult, a full-grown adult in the hospital. And you are waiting for another adult to give consent before a cesarean operation is, conducted, it is wrong. The person with the pregnancy, the person that is your patient, ought to be the person to sign whatever form that you want to sign. So both our medical practitioners and the citizens at large, they do not understand. Because if they do, things like this would not be happening. Your patient, it should be the one you are consulting. She should be the one you are telling what the risks are.
Yes.
The benefits. And this is what I call informed consent.
Yeah.
When you tell the person what the cesarean operation is going to entail, the risk, the benefits, the person will be able to make an informed decision.
Exactly.
Not the husband. This is the person who is going to go through the entire process. That person should be the person to make that decision. Except, the exception is except when the person is not conscious.
Okay.
If the person in question is in coma, then you can look for another person, maybe a next of kin,
Yes.
that will make that decision.
Yes. So now I'd like to know, do you think that men have a role to play in reproductive rights? And I'm not just talking about they should also put into consideration women, and I mean themselves as men. Do you think that they also have reproductive rights that should be looked into as well and enforced?
Yeah, certainly. Yes,
So,
because reproduction cannot happen without men.
Men, exactly. So while we're talking about the women, and what about them? What are their own reproductive rights?
Yeah, they should be able to decide whether they want to reproduce or not. And it is okay if a man says, I do not want children. But in our society, it's seen as abnormal.
Yes.
When someone comes to say, I do not want to have a child. It's also okay to say, I just want to have one or two, and that is okay. Okay? The society, but in the society that we are in, if you have one child, they'll keep asking you, what is going on?
Yes.
They see it as maybe there's a problem. Well, it shouldn't be so. Okay? Just as women have rights to reproduction, men also should have rights to reproduction. Because without their sperm,
I mean,
reproduction cannot take place.
Exactly. But it seems as though most of the issues arising from reproduction and reproductive rights are usually more on the women.
That is because we are the end product. Okay, their sperm is needed in the initial stage of reproduction, but after that we carry the fetus for 9 months and we go through the pain of delivery. That is why it's as if they are being sidelined. But I believe their rights as well to reproduction should be protected.
All right. So now let's look at the various factors that are at play when we talk about reproductive rights. Let's look at the cultural, the religious, and the societal factors. We'll take it one by one. So when it comes to culture, religion, what are those things, what role do they have to play, when it comes to how people see reproductive rights? How does it play out in our society?
It plays a very big role in the negative sense most times, because this issue of genital mutilation, many people still practice it currently. Okay, and it is wrong. They still believe that a woman ought to go through that process at childbirth, and it is wrong. Okay, it affects a woman's right to reproduction. Doctors will tell you that a woman that is circumcised has more risk during childbirth than a person that is not circumcised. And I wonder why it's as if it's very difficult to stop it, even when we have laws that has made it a criminal act. But still, there are people, if you go to these villages, there are people that still practice it to date. It's a very big problem. And in order for us to solve that problem, you need to sensitize them. They need to know why it is a bad cultural practice. Not just saying that it is criminalized. You cannot just make laws and without the people you're making the laws for do not understand why you are saying this is a criminal act. So is that sensitization, education, educating the masses is very important. Then you talked about religion. Religion is also a very big factor. Our brothers in the north, they believe in underage marriages. It's also a problem because a child shouldn't be able to know. A child knows nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, a child cannot give you that informed decision about her body because the child has not attained the age to know what is really good for him, for her. And but there they see it as a normal thing. They marry off their children at the age of 13, 14, 15.
Yes.
Okay, it is a very big problem. But like I said, to solve it, they also need to be sensitized. Let them not see that we are fighting their religion. Let them understand that these children are being affected negatively. Let them see the negative effects of underage marriages. Okay, I believe if they have proper sensitization, we start from their religious leaders, I believe it will get to the grassroots.
Okay.
I believe so. And then generally, that is how I feel this cultural and religious, should also. Then coming down to our side, the religious aspect, many of our religious leaders believe that women do not have a say. So as long as you are married to a man, you do not have a say as to how many children you're going to have. You do not have a say as to whether a particular pregnancy should be terminated. Okay, even when apparently it is disturbing the life of the woman. They will always tell you to pray about it. There is nothing God cannot do. Pray, you will be okay. When it's obviously against doctor's advice. The doctor has said this pregnancy is going to kill you. It is better we terminate it. But you see them running to churches and the pastor will tell them no. Okay? It is wrong. It is very wrong. People need to understand these things. Religion is good. I believe in God.
Yes.
But there is a line. Okay? When you know that your health is at stake, you should know that at this point, you have to take the doctor's advice. Okay?
Yes.
Because wisdom is profitable to direct.
Exactly. That is very true.
You cannot be blinded by religion when obviously God has given you the ability to discern right from wrong. Within you, most of these women, within them, they know. They know that they ought to follow the doctor's advice. And most of them, they don't. And at the end of the day, they lose their lives.
Yes.
Okay, so our religious leaders, our pastors, they need to know when to draw the line. Okay, if a particular pregnancy is going to affect a woman's life, it is better terminated. Okay, and if early termination even prevents further health complications, exactly.
Yes. Now earlier on also you made mention of you said how most people when they are married, as long as you're married to a man, most of the women don't have a say as to how many children that they want to have. And you said something about being the head of the home or something. So I'd like you to expand more on that. Aside from the cultural and religious aspects, when it comes to family life, husband, wife, sisters, sister-in-law, brother, all of that. How does that play out?
Okay, there's this general notion that once you're a married woman, you do not have a say again over your body, over you, over what you do, over places you go to, over the number of kids you have, and it is wrong. It is wrong in the sense that there should be a limit to everything. Okay. Issues pertaining to how many children that you should have is something there should be a roundtable discussion on.
Roundtable
because
discussion between
the husband and the wife.
Okay.
Okay, between the husband and the wife, the woman should not be sidelined at all. Okay, because at the end of the day, she's the one that will carry the pregnancy. Her body is going to go through all those changes. She's going to be the one to go through the risk of childbirth.
Yeah.
So you can't say she doesn't have a say just because she's married. It is wrong. She's a human being. She has human rights. Okay, as a human being, the fact that you're married to her does not in any way stop those rights. Okay, so that the reason why I said it should be a roundtable discussion, because marriage is a union between two people.
Yeah.
Okay, issues pertaining to how many children there should be in the home, it should be between the two parties, because just as the woman has reproductive rights, the man also has reproductive rights.
Yeah, and should also be able to make decisions.
He should also be able to make decisions as well on how many children they are going to have. So it should be a roundtable discussion. It shouldn't just be what the man decides. It's wrong.
So now we've spoken on abortion. We've spoken on how many kids to have, and you've also mentioned health and things like female genital mutilation and the likes. But what about contraception? The use of contraceptives?
That's also another right a woman has. A woman has the right to use contraception at the initial time to prevent pregnancy from happening in the first place. Okay, and as a matter of fact, contraception is that kind of medicine that most people are not proud to buy at the medicine stores, but you should be proud to buy it, because it is something that will prevent future problems for you as a woman. It should be something that should be easily accessible to women. As a matter of fact, women hardly go to pharmacy stores to ask for those drugs. Once you ask for them, I mean,
the looks.
Yes, the judgmental looks, you know, it is wrong. People need to change their mindset about contraception. Okay, as a matter of fact, once a child is of age, you need to teach the child some sexual education and use of contraception as well, so that they can prevent unwanted pregnancy. So, because abortion in Nigeria is not legal, but contraceptive medicines are legal. So why not teach the child the right thing? Why not teach the child the way to prevent something that might be illegal in the future? Okay, so I believe that people should be sensitized on that as well.
So from what you've said that it's important that once a child is of age, which is 18, the child should be able to know, or the parents or the guardians or the teachers should be able to talk to that child about sex education and reproductive rights as well. So would you, and you know, in our Nigerian society, I mean, we know how this kind of conversations are being approached. It's not that open. It's not something that most mothers would be open to discuss with their children or to their daughters or their sons. So would you say that that is in a way infringing on those children's reproductive rights?
Wow.
Can you say something like that?
Yes.
When you don't give them the information?
I'm saying that because information as to reproductive rights is part of what reproductive rights is all about in the very first place. A woman has to know what her rights are when it comes to her body. Okay, she has to know that there are decisions that she has to make for herself when it comes to her body. Information as to sexual orientation and sex education is also very important for a woman to understand what her rights are. If you are denying that child that information, you are infringing on that child's right to reproductive, her reproductive rights. And but you know, let's be practical. This is Nigeria.
Yes.
And most parents, they see it as a no-go area. They see it as a matter of fact that you are spoiling the child, but it shouldn't be so. Okay, a child needs to know what a child needs to know at the appropriate age of course. And let's also be mindful of the fact that we are in the era of social media. We are the era of internet. So what you don't teach a child, they'll learn it the wrong way. So why not sit the child down and teach the child the proper thing? But you're not letting the child know what the child should know. The child might enter social media and see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are not actually protecting your child. You're exposing your child to the wrong thing. The protection comes when you sit the child down and you teach the child. So when the child goes to maybe social media or the internet and sees something like that, the child will remember.
Oh, my mom
My
told
mom
me
is so,
this,
exactly. My
yeah.
mom told me this, and she said this one is wrong. This is right. This is what I should do in situations like this. Okay, but when you leave the child totally blind, the child is learning something entirely new, and it's not from you. It could go
Another
wrong.
thing is that some of the parents are not also informed, and so they end up giving their children wrong information.
That's also another thing. That is also another thing. So we need to sensitize people, and also people need to have an open mind concerning things they do not know, because that's the problem we have in our society today. People don't have open mind to things that are new to them.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have open mind to learning, to discovering new things, to things that you do not know, you'll be able to, when you learn something like this, you won't be like, this is not what we were taught. This is not what my mother told me while I was growing up. But your generation and this generation is not the same.
The same.
Okay, so you have to be open to learning, open to change, open to applying the change to the new circumstances, okay, around you. And yeah.
All right, so I'd like to ask more personal questions now. In the course of your legal profession, or even personally outside of the legal profession, have you encountered or been in a situation where you had to handle a situation of infringement of reproductive rights or something of that sort?
Personally, no, but then there's this recent case, a very interesting case. The decision is quite recent. It was given in June.
Okay.
Federal High Court Abuja gave the decision. The decision said that the court held that a woman that got pregnant through rape or sexual assault has the right to terminate the pregnancy. It's a new one. You know, I told you before that in our law, that the only ground for you to terminate the pregnancy is if your life is at stake.
Yes.
Okay, now this new decision is a landmark, is a new one, is a welcome development, because it has given women the right to actually, do something about pregnancies that are gotten through rape or sexual assault. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the first of its kind, and like I said, it's a welcome development. It's a very welcome development.
So you've not had any personal experience?
Yeah, there are personal experiences of other people. Mm-hmm. They've told me how they were admitted at the hospital, and then they just could not operate on them until their husbands were there to sign consent for the operation to go on. And it is a very wrong thing. It is very, very wrong. I've not had a personal experience personally, but I've heard stories. I've heard stories of people who have gone through this process, and some of them were lucky, some were not so lucky. Okay, yeah. And pregnancy is a very dicey thing. Yeah. Most times, when the woman is in labor, it's an emergency. Okay, and at that point in time, if the doctor has assessed and seen that this child cannot be given birth to normally, that there is need for a cesarean operation, it should be a decision that has to be taken at the spur of the moment. Waiting for another person, even if it is the husband, it is wrong.
Yes. So from earlier on, you said you mentioned the laws, but you were like, if there isn't any particular law, So would you say that the Nigerian legal system has failed women in terms of fully protecting their rights when it comes to reproduction?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because there are other laws, like I said, that you can, from those other laws, protect yourself. But we still do need a specific law on this, on reproductive rights of women. Okay, it's something that I believe our lawmakers should look into.
What specific law exactly would you say you would like to see?
Something like a Women's Reproductive Rights Act of Nigeria.
Okay, strictly women's reproductive, not just reproductive rights generally for both men and women.
Women's Reproductive Rights Act.
Okay.
I'm a woman, so I can only speak for women.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Something like that. In as much as, like I told you, that there's a new case, I know our case laws are also laws, okay, on that issue. In as much as there's a new case on it, we do need to have a law, because there are a lot to talk about when it comes to reproductive rights of women. It's not just about what that case decided. There are a lot to talk about. There are a lot of laws that needs to be in place, and for us to have a codified law, you need something specific on it. Yes.
Exactly. So would you say that just like you said about how some of these things are not are arguable depending on maybe the culture or the religion of the person, so would you say that in a way these external factors like culture, religion, society interfere with the law and carrying out what is in the law or what is in the Constitution?
Yes, it does. It affects carrying out what is in the Constitution a lot, because when someone knows, how many people actually do know that they have such rights in the Constitution? That is another thing. There are very few of them that do know that such rights exist. But you have a lot of cultures that people are aware of because it is rooted in them. So that's why I said it's a challenge. I'm not saying yes, we can't do nothing about it, but it is challenging the rights of women to reproduction.
But I'm just thinking, most people, like we said earlier, don't even know that there is something called reproductive rights. So do you think that this also leads to a situation whereby even if their reproductive rights are being infringed upon, because they don't know, they can't even take it up?
Yes, they can't, because they do not know it's something you can enforce. They do not know that they have such rights. So they do not know, they do not even know that you are infringing on it.
Yeah.
They do not even know it is an infringement. They take it as a normal thing. Okay? They take it as a normal thing. Okay.
So do you think that this issue of reproductive rights should be a part of, should I say, civic or legal education in schools and universities?
Yes.
And how do you think that would look like? The idea of reproductive rights being taught in schools and universities.
It should be taught in schools, starting from secondary school. It should be taught. Our teenagers, they need to know that they have rights, that such rights exist. They don't. Many don't, actually. And they need to know. So yes, I believe you should start from secondary school to teach children about these rights. Okay, so that they will be aware when someone is when a boy is coming close to you. As a matter of fact, you ought to know.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you understand? You ought to know whether this is what you want. Okay. You also ought to know that you have autonomy over your body. You have the right to say no. Okay. Many girls do not know that. It's not just about the reproductive rights as to how many children you want to have. You also have rights over your body. You have the right to when you want to be touched, how you want to be touched, if at all you want to be touched. Okay, so yes, consent basically. So it's something that should be taught from the secondary school.
Yeah. Yes. And how would you say that legal or the law generally can accommodate these cultural and religious factors in such a way that while not, going against culture and religion, but still being able to maintain the law and just kind of like bringing everything together. So do you think it's something that is achievable?
It is, because any custom of tradition that is unconstitutional, that is against the constitution, that is it is to the extent of that is inconsistent with the constitution, it is to the extent of that inconsistency null and void. Okay, so if we have laws and we have an amendment in the constitution, okay, that is making these laws, constitutional, okay, it will go a long way. It will go a long way, because there are a lot of cultures, there are a lot of customs that are barbaric.
Yeah.
And if they are inconsistent with the provision of someone's rights in the constitution, it is null and void. Okay, if that happens, there are such cultural practices, such religious practices, you can see people boldly approaching courts and challenging them.
Exactly. So now, just finally, before we wrap up this conversation, how would you like reproductive rights, or in your opinion, what steps can be taken to make this idea or this thing about reproductive rights be more accepted, and for Nigerians and people, families, to be more informed about what it is, and just go on from there?
We'll start small, sensitizing the people, educating people, let people understand the need for this right. That is the first step. Okay, then after that, then I'll have, like I said, we need to have a particular law on that. Our lawmakers need to sit down and get to work and do something about that, so that we can have a law on that. And apart from having the law, our problem in Nigeria is not the law, it's enforcement.
Yes, implementing the law, yeah.
We also need to be able to enforce them. Okay, not just having the law, the ability to enforce these laws, so that our children growing up will feel proud being women. Okay, they will have that sense of belonging being women. It's not just about deciding whether you want to have a child or not. It's not just about that, but it's having that sense of belonging, having that pride as a woman. We need it. A lot of our girls do not have it. They have low self-esteem as a human being, because they do not know their rights. They do not know these things. But when they do know, they will have a certain sense of belonging.
Yeah.
They'll have that self-esteem. They will be proud to come out as women. Okay, that's what I believe.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed, looking at it from the legal aspect of it, and just, hearing your thoughts on reproductive rights. I mean, I look forward to when it's more widely discussed,
yes,
and people are more open to having these conversations. Yes, well, thank you so much, Onyinye, for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go on a very short break, and when we come back, Gender Perspective continues. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now that we've explored the legal aspects and realities of reproductive rights, let's shift gears to another segment, which is on the myths and facts. Yes, this is where we're going to break down some of the most common and often harmful misconceptions surrounding reproductive rights and separate them from the truth. Because misinformation isn't just confusing, it can be dangerous, especially when it shapes public opinion and policy. So let's get into it. As we close today's program, one thing is clear. Reproductive rights are not just about access, they are about having power, equity, and voice. Now, we've seen how these laws shape lives and how these gender identities impact access and how important it is to listen to those who are most affected. So whether you're an advocate, you're a student, or someone who is simply willing to learn, your voice matters in this conversation. And we're going to say a big thank you to our guest, Ogechukwu Agbo, for sharing such valuable insights, and to you for being a part of this program. And until I see you next week, I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Enjoy the rest of your day.